All right. Hello. Welcome, everyone, to our February webinar as we're looking at another season creeping up on us sooner rather than later. Today, we're going to take a look at CRM, and we're looking at this from a large perspective. Of course, we're going to go into RB and take a look at sales leads and follow-ups, which is what inherently everybody thinks of CRM. But we're also going to look at some other pieces that we don't always associate with customer relationship management and how RB can be leveraged to just increase your CRM presence. You don't have to have a Salesforce, you don't have to have a HubSpot to have effective CRM in your organization. And that's one of the things that we're going to look at today. So without further ado, we'll get right into it. Today, we're going to first talk about what is CRM, including the traditional stuff like the sales leads that we talked about, but also what other elements extend into what the modern view of the CRM encompasses. We are, of course, going to dig into sales leads and follow-ups, which are built into your core licensing with RB. We're going to go through how to set those up and a good procedure for using them. We're also going to dig into loyalty programs. We know that those exist in RB, but a lot of times they're sort of pushed aside because we have bigger fish to fry. But loyalty programs are intrinsic to what we would consider good customer relationship management, and it may or may not be a good option for you. There was a full webinar on loyalty programs, so we're going to look at this at a higher level than we normally do, but we are going to talk about the fundamental setup and procedures that you can use for that. And then time permitting, we'll talk about targeting messaging with our new advanced text messaging, how to message out sales, and how to leverage out all sorts of digital communication right from within RB, or at least how to get the tools and the lists and the key information that you need from RB into a third party if you're using something like Constant Contact or the like. So lots of stuff on the agenda for today. So what is CRM generically and in our industry? What does it do for us? Well, CRM for us does three critical things. And the first thing is the textbook definition. It's all about managing your customer base and retaining that customer base. So you can think of RB not just as a POS, not just as a way for you to generate, sales orders and schedule your technicians, but you can think of RB as in and of itself a CRM tool. Why? Because there's a central database. RB tracks all of your customer interactions. If you're sending emails, the emails show we said, they said, we said, they said, and that's trackable on many levels right down to the individual customer. It, of course, tracks your purchase history. We know how valuable that is, along with your service records, so that you have good information as you go into practice with RB. In our industry, traditional CRM also extends into some of the automation that we have. And when I say automation, I mean tools that make your life easier. You can think of your revolving service as a form of automation. You can think of sending out an email to everybody on your text schedule at the push of a button as an automation. You can think about extended add-ons that we have, like our Water Lab, as automation because it synchronizes between platforms. And that is all inclusive of the CRM too. Of course, there's the traditional thing, which is organizational messaging and record keeping for tasks that have to happen, sales and follow-ups. And we're going to really dig into that. That's our first in RB sort of peak that we're going to have in the second half of today. And the loyalty programs that we talked about on the front end encourage repeat business. We know that there are lots of options. In every market, there's not just one player. And if there is, I want to go to that market. So we have to incentivize and make it easy through an organized database, which is what RB effectively is, for your customers to come back and come back and come back and schedule with you season after season after season. The marketplace is getting more competitive. So even those customers that have been on your books for years are looking for value-added pieces to the puzzle that are already included in your RB license. Another element of CRM that we don't often think about is optimizing our process for sales and outreach to customers. Our new advanced text messaging, and it's not so new anymore, it's looking at a year old now, it's going to have its birthday pretty soon here, takes your text messaging to the next level. Not only is it blasting out messages to your clients, but it's allowing them to respond back and for you to have a communication via text. We know how critical text messaging is in today's marketplace. People don't want to pick up the phone anymore. It's tough sometimes to get them to text. This is the solution. And like email communication and like a phone log, the text messaging automatically archives those conversations. So it's great for an audit trail, and there's not a he said, she said, but it's even better when you're looking at a customer and you can read the communication and the history that you've had with that customer and can sort of feel out the style of customer that they had. Converting inquiries to sales is also critical, and having good accountability pieces in place for you and your staff is a way to do that. Having a consistent process is the second half of that puzzle. And by utilizing some CRM tools, you're able to provide customers not only with the right answers, but a consistent experience, regardless of who they're talking to in your organization or what sort of answers and questions they're posing. So consistency is king, right? We know, I'm going to throw out the McDonald's analogy out there. We know that McDonald's is successful in some cases for some customers. Local diner, McDonald's. They want a burger. McDonald's wins a lot of the time because no matter if you are here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, on the West Coast, or anywhere in between, the consistent experience is something that we as human animals enjoy. We don't like change. You know that, right? Every season, trying to implement changes to enhance your business is often one of the most challenging things to do, just because we're resilient towards it. We like the familiar, and consistency in our process adds a familiar element for our clients. Last but not least, having good CRM and all of the above, plus the history, plus the purchases, allows your sales team to really customize a sale in minutes just by reviewing a screen and hit the buttons that that particular customer is going to be receptive to. That can increase your revenue, that can increase add-on sales, upsells, and cross sales. So instead of just sending a base tub out the door, we're going to be able to find the items based on what we can quickly glance at in a customer's history that are attractive for that customer, present a more profitable tub and a bank of accessories that are going to impact your bottom line in a favorable manner. The last sort of piece of the puzzle to CRM for our industry is the internal piece. It's operational efficiency. What do I mean by that? I mean making sure that your store runs as a well-oiled machine. Time is money. And we don't want to waste time doing things, and this includes non-tangible things like research or process thought, that we aren't going to get paid for, right? It's going to be a return on investment, and we have to factor not just dollars and cents into that investment, but time, human resources, and management. So making sure that the schedule, which we're not going to talk about today, but is well integrated, is a part of good customer relationship management. Having a predictable experience for your customers. Automated invoicing through services like our online bill pay. If you're not using online bill pay, you'll be amazed at the recapture and the amount of money you don't have to chase anymore is astounding. I've seen businesses have notable double-digit percentage increases on recapturing revenue through online bill pay. Again, not an area where we're going to really focus today, but part of the greater CRM scheme. And right now is the time. It's not mid-season. If you're thinking about presenting your customers with a way to pay their invoices, their AR accounts online, implementation time is now, because before you know it, you're going to be doing openings and closings, and it's going to be really hard to include that in there. I guess if online bill pay is on the horizon or a thought for you, email me after the session or next week, and I'll touch base with you about that. Having access to your inventory, knowing where your levels are, knowing what's committed on a sales order already, being able to look at things like, do I need to reorder X, Y, and Z, or should I just shuffle this inventory from one area to another, from one warehouse to another, from a van back to the sales floor? That's all intrinsically part of customer relationship management, because the worst thing that happens is a customer walks through your door to buy a product that they think is there and you think is there, and it's not there. And last but not least, having mobile access to these tools through Mobile Live is important. We know that we can look at a service tech's day at a glance, but did we know that turning on an extra Mobile Live license gives you the ability to have an iPad on the showroom floor where your salesperson doesn't necessarily have to wait for the other folks to finish up on RB to look up a customer, or to check inventory, or to check their internal messages, or to work on a sales lead. It's a great way to extend your license. Remember, Mobile Live, I think of it like RB Lite. And there's a lot of applications where having that device handy is almost as good as having another full RB license for you in your showroom. So all of those things are put into consideration when we look at CRM, not just the textbook stuff that we look at. CRM is the total picture of how your organization interacts, not with your customers, but with each customer. And that's an important distinction. Interacting with a customer base is one thing. It's rather vanilla, and it's looking for a one-size-fits-all solution. Interacting with each customer is very different, because the customers know when they're getting boilerplate or customized attention. And having effective CRM processes for everything that we talked about so far is going to give them that feeling that this is personalized attention, and it's going to take the weight off of your shoulders to do all of the legwork, because RB is going to help you do some of that just through good implementation. All right. I'm not going to yammer on about the philosophy behind it. I want to go right into RB and talk about some of the things, because we have a full agenda for the items that we want to look at. I do hope that there's time at the end so that we can get that last piece in. But if not, I'll throw up a bonus video or something like that. But we're going to transition right into my RB so that we can take a look at the first piece of this puzzle, which is the traditional, what we would think of as CRM pieces being sales leads and follow-ups built into RB. So I'm going to switch my screen. And we are in my fake store right now. And you'll see that right off the bat, I am logged in to my RB instance using Remember Me, so that I don't have to put my 4-digit code in as often as I want to. This is not something you probably want to have turned on your sales floor or at your cash register. You may want to have things a little more secure, but in the office situation, maybe at a sales station, it's a possibility. But Remember Me helps me out in a couple of ways when it comes to CRM. And that is because when I'm logged in, every single user that logs in is going to be able to see their standard CRM pieces right in front of them. The quick bar down here always is going to have your time clock. It'll have follow-up sales leads and messages, and it will have your exit from RB. But when you're logged in, I'll be able to see, what do I have in these inboxes? Do I have any follow-ups that I need to attend to? Do I have any sales leads that I need to attend to? Do I have any messages? The other place you can see this, if your employees don't have Remember Me available, is when they go to punch in if you're using the RB time clock. Because a cashier may not have Remember Me enabled on their system for security reasons. We don't want that register open and accessible. You get a curious 5-year-old that knows a little bit about a keyboard and a mouse, and who knows what's going to happen. But when they go to punch in, those same numbers are going to be displayed right on their punch-in screen as a reminder. So I know whether I can log into RB or not at the start of my shift. Hey, I've got a follow-up I need to do. Hey, I've got sales leads I need to attend to. So it's right there in my face, loud and proud. We're going to start with follow-ups and then go into sales leads, but it's really two sides of the same coin. The process for both is incredibly similar. The difference is a sales lead in RB is what I think of as a follow-up plus. So if we know the follow-up process, the sales leads just have more information included that are skewed towards sales. But I'm going to talk about setup first. Before we go to use follow-ups, there is some setup that we have to do on the back end. And to get there, I'm going to go into company setup. And on my company setup, I'm going to have 3 CRM tabs: follow-up setup, sales lead setup, and what's called event setup. We're going to start here and go into the follow-up setup. This is where you build out the types of events that you are going to assign out that are going to require follow-up. Remember, RB is a blank slate that's customized for your business. And much like when you set up your company, you have to build out the finer points. This is where you're telling RB, we're not worried about the process yet, but I have these types of follow-ups. And the one I always like to call attention to is an inbound phone call. And this is the example that I'm going to use for this follow-up. An inbound phone call is something that can happen in my organization. And when that happens, I want documentation that my staff did what they needed to do to address that customer's phone call. And I want that consistent process. So I am creating this. This is like the title, the top down. This is the scenario, the inbound phone call. You can continue with other types of follow-ups. I've seen stores that use follow-ups for, did you once a month go through and audit inventory in this section? So they'll have an inventory follow-up. And that's not a customer-facing follow-up, right? That's an internal process that we are regimenting that needs done. Customer emails me. What's my process? What do I want my people to do? I have a special order return. What's my process? What do I need to do? This can be anything that you want a consistent and tracked history of action created for. So these are just the titles. From there, we're going to build out what happens with this particular thing. What do we need as far as information that we're going to want on it? Obviously, I want it to create who the owner is and what location it's at. But am I going to require notes? Do I want subject information? Do I want a custom field? which can be whatever I want. By default, it's going to say other information, but I can have a custom sort of free form text input box that is just details about something to do with this particular overarching topic. Where we get into the actual steps, once you've set these items up, is in the Events tab. When you go to the Events tab, it looks very empty. That's because we have to pick the follow-up type that we just created. And then we say, these are the normal things that happen. And we're going to start, this is a little not intuitive. We're going to start at the bottom and work our way up, right? The first thing we're going to look at is static events. These are things that have a finite date. So one possible resolution or step that I want is, convert before the end of the year. And you can see that the due date is December 31st of 2025. So this is something that has to be done by the end of the year. Static events are the least likely to be used because process doesn't often have a firm date. But if you have something that needs a firm date, this is where you would create that thing. And when you think of events, I want you to think of it again in a hierarchy, right? The follow-up that we named on the previous screen is the title. This is the stuff that we're going to do, or the stuff that happens in that big list of items that we want to address in a follow-up. So since this is an inbound phone call, I'm going to move to the next step, which is filling out dynamic events. And this is where most of your events are going to probably be created. Why? Because these aren't hard dates, but they're relative dates. So the first event that I created was the inbound phone call. This came in to my store. I titled it inbound phone call. And under days until due, I put 1. If you leave it blank, RB looks at it as a 0. We have to put a 1 because 1 is today. So that inbound phone call happened today. Then I say, well, what do I want my staff to do when they get a phone call? Well, they're going to return the call. And I go through, if I want to be specific, I can say how they're going to interact. Obviously, this is going to be a phone call. And I have 2 days until due because today counts as 1. I want this phone call returned in 24 hours. So by putting 2 in that column, that says tomorrow is the last day that they should have this done. The center section here has a box called Stage Update. And this is specific for those of you that are using advanced job costing through our construction module. We're not going to talk about it today because you'll review this when you do your construction training. For most of these events, we're not creating anything here today. But know that if you have construction and you do very, very granular job costing, you can tie certain events to a stage. And that's where I'm going to leave that one. The last step is the position, and this is a numerical position for where it's going to show up in a drop-down box, right? Again, we're building out our functionality with RB by creating these steps. This tells RB, put this one in the second place on the list. Like everything in RB, once it's been used, it's not going to delete, but we can mark things inactive. And then I go down and create the next step. Well, the next step for my event is going to be a follow-up email. And I'm going to fill in the blanks the same way that I normally would. My due date now is 5 days out. So the phone call came today. I return the phone call tomorrow. Customer has 3 days. And then I follow up with an email. If it's a one-off question, you may not have a stage like this, but this is just an example for like a bigger issue that we might want to address with the customer, or if we just want to have a paper trail of our communication with the customer. Phone calls are great, but they still open up he said, she said. Having a follow-up email documents, hey, Mr. Brown, I'm glad we were able to talk about your spa. I understand that you're throwing an error code. It's too cold outside right now because it's 10 degrees outside. But as soon as it's warm enough for our techs to troubleshoot, we're going to have someone scheduled and sent out to you. I'll follow up with you then. In the email, I would say, Mr. Brown, thanks for talking to me the other day. Just to remind you, as soon as the weather breaks, we're going to be able to get you on the schedule for your spa thing. It's again, just documentation of what happened. So I build this out for my inbound phone call. And I am going to continue to do that for every other type of follow-up that I have here. Now, you'll notice in my drop-down here, I only have one follow-up built out for our example today. But my sales leads are showing up here too. Because the process, again, it's two sides of the same coin. It piggybacks on the process. We'll come back and address sales leads, but don't get confused that you see both here. Sales leads and follow-ups are all going to appear in this drop-down menu. So built out any static events that I have, built out my dynamic events. The top box is our last stop. And I want you to think of this, it's called Event Planner, but it's like a template. For most of my inbound phone calls, this is the process that I want my staff to have. So they don't have to pick every single event piecemeal out when they get to their follow-up, which we'll see next. They'll be able to just pull up the template, the event planner, and pop in the events in one push of a button. So this is just a time saver here. Again, build out the stages for a common inbound phone call resolution in your organization. If you've created more than one follow-up type, which you probably have, you'll do this for each type that you have. And when you're done, you'll quit. Now your follow-ups are ready to use. So I am going to go in and click on follow-ups, and it's going to load my sales lead and follow-up sort of home base. If you are a manager, if you are an owner, or if you have permissions, you'll be able to pull up the leads and follow-ups of all of your employees at the top. I'm leaving it on mine just for simplicity. If I'm an employee, I'm probably only going to see mine. This is permission-based through your security questions. But the top section is going to show me everything that's on my to-do list. That's what this is. It's a digital to-do list. If I need to do something because I'm late, it will be noted. But I'm going to continue to ignore this one follow-up because I'm going in, I need to create a new follow-up. So I push create new, and I pop this dialog, and I fill in the blanks. Well, this is a follow-up for my first location. What type of follow-up is it? Every type of follow-up that you've created will show up in this drop-down list. It's an inbound phone call. What customer is this? Well, I'm going to find that customer and select that customer. For the humans that are using the system, functionally, this doesn't do anything in RB, but it's great for us users. We're going to say what this is. Customer called regarding service call. Then I'm going to assign it to staff. I'm going to assign it to myself today, but you can assign it to any of my staff. And if I am working ahead, or if I don't want to bury one of my staff members in follow-ups, I can select an appear date. That will make this a hidden follow-up until such date happens. I don't want this to be hidden. I want it to start today. By default, it's going to have today's date in it. If I created a custom field, remember I left mine as other info, it will show up here. And if there was an initial event that took place, I can say what that initial event was. So I had my inbound phone call. Also, there's free form notes so that I can be as informed as possible. When I'm done, I hit create. And now you can see that I have a current action waiting for me in my follow-ups. Current means I'm not late. I've done everything that I need to do. Now I'm going to switch from the person assigning this follow-up into the role of the employee that's handling the follow-up. Okay, I come in. Oh, I've got 2 follow-ups. I log into my follow-ups and here they are. Oh, goodness. I'm late on one of these. To modify a follow-up, it's as easy as double-clicking the line item. And as soon as I do that, the rest of the window lights up and becomes accessible. I can continue to put in notes as I need to. If I want to tie a follow-up to a transaction, I can do that. But the most important thing for my follow-ups is my chain of events that I need to address down here, and it's blank because I have no events that I've taken care of. So in this situation, I'm going to say, okay, well, this woman called for pump service. I need to add an event. What am I doing? I'm doing an inbound phone call, and I'm going to be calling her back, and I'm going to create that event. And it puts it on my list. I can also select and modify these things just like I did in the setup. If I'm working for a store that has a process, we created that event template. It's going to say event template, and it's going to show me my normal process for this task. In this case, I'm just going to select all, but I already have the inbound phone call on there. So I only need to pick 2 of those 3. Whatever I highlight is going to be dropped into my list. And you can see that based on that setup, we know that that inbound phone call took place today. My return call is due by tomorrow, and my follow-up email is due on the 19th. Since this phone call already happened, I'm going to go over and complete that phone call event, and it's going to mark it as done. And if I have taken care of all of my tasks, I go up and close the follow-up, and that is going to pop up this window that says, hey, we just need to verify you're closing this follow-up, and do I maybe want to message a manager to let them know that it's taken care of? I can do that, and that manager will have an internal message in RB messaging saying, hey, Ryan took care of this phone call. So again, I open up a follow-up. Most of the time, I'm going to add things from my template, and then I'm going to complete tasks, add notes, log transactions or other information as I need to, bit by bit by bit. In this case, I just closed out one of those events, so I still have an action that needs to take place, but I'm current on it. I can do this as long as I get it done by tomorrow. So I'm going to leave this follow-up as an open follow-up and just save. And now I have taken care of one and have no current follow-ups that I need to take care of because they are all up to date. If I were to log in tomorrow, that'll be back up at a 1 because I have an action that I need to do. And you can go back and forth and back and forth. Managers, you can get a report for any delinquent follow-ups that you have. And then you can go have a chat with your staff if you need to. If you just use this for process and timeline is not important, I still encourage you to put time frames on those events because it's a good little nudge and reminder. If it's okay if I don't send the follow-up email on day 5 and I send it on day 4 or day 6, it's not the end of the world. I don't need that on a report. I'm not going to go holler at someone because of that. It's still a good reminder for your staff as they're touching those items that those items have a due date, they have a timeline, that sort of thing. Let's take a look at sales leads now. The process is the same. I'm going to go back into company setup. Only this time I'm going to go to the sales leads setup screen. Don't get overwhelmed by the things that are on this screen. Most of them are just lists that are variables for your sale. We are going to do the same thing starting with the type of sales lead. We're building out the big title for the action for the sales lead. And then we're going to go through and fill in the rest of the blanks. What are the reasons we might expire a sales lead? Oh, customer, it's out of their price range. They're not going to do it. Or they just never came back. They bought it somewhere else. Interaction methods, again, you can customize those just like in follow-ups. If you track leads, you can log a lead source and add your lead sources here. If you track competitors, or if you know who the competitors are, you can add your competitors here. Again, this is all about having good information for your sales team available at their fingertips. Just like in follow-ups, what are we requiring to be a startup sales lead? And this is going to vary based on your store's process. It's the same as follow-ups, just with more options, right? Then we come over to this last column. This column is unique to the lead type. So what you've created here shows up here, and you build this out individually per lead type. So I've picked my spa lead. These are the stages that I have for selling a spa, my competitors' products, and my products. If you don't need to get so granular to list competitor products or your products, you don't have to. The last thing that we have to set up is up here in the top right-hand corner. This is optional. RB has the ability to rank your sales leads based on likelihood of closing. By default, it's ranked from 0 to 5 stars. If you want to put a descriptor in instead of having the number of stars written out, you can put those in here. I'm going to leave mine as 5 stars. Then I'm going to kick over to the events tab, and I am going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull up my spa sales lead, and hey, this looks familiar. We're going to build out static events. We're going to build out dynamic events. We're going to build out event plans, just like we did for follow-ups. So once we've constructed all of our sales lead types, we quit. And I'm going to go into sales leads. Again, not an unfamiliar screen. The difference is it has a little bit more information. So let me create myself a spa sales lead. I'm going to create a new lead. I am going to find my customer. So let's see, who am I going to sell a spa to? I'm going to sell a spa to this customer. So this is a abbreviated customer search. You notice when I pull up that customer, it automatically populates with their information from their customer record, their email that they have on file, and then I continue to build this out. Well, this is at location 2. Subject, customer interested via web in spa. I'm going to assign this lead out. Again, I'm going to assign it to myself so that it just shows up. And I'm going to pick the lead types that I've created. I'm going to pick spa. Other info is that custom field that we talked about before. Estimated close date. Well, I would like to close this spa by the end of the month, so I can put that in here. This is a prospect because we got their information from the web. Where is the lead source? It's from the website. Again, I fill in the blanks based on my pre-populated items. What product are they looking at? We're not quite sure yet. Have they shopped any competitors? We don't know. What is the competitor product? We don't know. And then organizationally, I start all of my leads at 3 stars, and then we adjust them from there. If I have other notes that I want to put in about this customer, we can. Customer has 5 outstanding quotes. Uh-oh, that's not a good sign for this lead. I'm going to drop it down to 2 stars. And then I add the events just like I did for my follow-ups. I'm going to make it easy on myself. I'm going to use my entire template and drop it in. So right now, I should schedule showroom time with that customer. I should have a follow-up call with that customer, and I should have some in-person contact with that customer. Then I create that lead, and just like with my follow-ups, my sales lead populates here. I double-click it to open it. I can modify information as I see fit. I can complete events as I attend to them. And, oh, look, she bought the spa. I'm going to close the lead the same way that I would close the follow-up. Just close it and save it. Or, oh, no, it's 2 months from now. I haven't heard from her. I'm going to expire the lead and give an expiration reason. She just didn't come back. Either way, it's going to save, and it will clear that sales lead from me. So the sales lead is a follow-up that has salesy stuff built into it that allows you to track notes, products, customer information, and give it a rating. So if you're a sales manager, again, top-down view from a report, you can see where everybody is at one nice place. The setup piece is worth it if process is important to you. But that's the internal traditional CRM that we have in RB. Part 2, we are going to take a look at loyalty programs. And loyalty programs in RB, again, are part of your core licensing. No extra add-ons necessary. They are sort of 2 varieties. I'm actually going to go back to tools. I got ahead of myself. The first variety is a customer card. This is like your grocery store, the keychain tags, where you give the customer a membership or something of that like to your store, and they earn points based on their purchases. To add a customer to a points-based loyalty program system is easy. You go into the customer, you find the customer, and when you pull up that customer's record, it's as easy as you click this button down here that says Add IDs. It'll ask you what type of ID you're adding. In RB, we call it the Fun Pass. And then you can swipe, scan, or key a Fun Pass number for that customer, and that will be associated with their account. This does 2 things for you. 1, it starts to collect points for your customers so that you can run a report, and when a customer hits a certain threshold on that report, they'll be eligible for, we'll send them a 20% off coupon on one item or something like that. It is a very traditional loyalty program that customers are responsive to. The other thing having the Fun Pass is good for is when I go to look up a customer, let's say I am going to ring a sale and they have their keychain tag with them. I'm going to go into my cash register here. Pretend that I scanned that customer. It's going to automatically come up with that customer's identification. So you can see my really creative customer number that was on that keychain tag, but it's going to pull that customer up right away. So I have easy access to that customer. From there, I go in, I ring the transaction, and the key thing here is to make sure the points go on the transaction. We have to make sure that this box is checked. But fear not, there's a setup option that will always have this box checked for you. In the olden days, you had to check it manually each time, or you had to scan a card and it would auto check that box. I'm going to exit this ticket. And we're going to go in and talk about that threshold that we can set for this particular type of loyalty program. And that is in company setup. So we're going to go into our company setup, and it's on the preferences tab. And right down here is the FunPass loyalty threshold amount. Once a customer in my store hits 500 points, they're going to show up on that FunPass report so that I know to send them whatever that reward is at that level. The other thing that's important that we'll see later is if you're running a reward dollar program, dollars do expire, and this is where you can set that expiration. We're not going to revisit this next time because we know it's in the same place. But for FunPass, we need to set the loyalty threshold here. The auto checkbox is right above it. Automatically activate FunPass. If we check that, it's just always on. So that's method number one. Quick, simple, efficient. You can run that report out of your customer reports to see who is eligible for your FunPass. FunPass loyalty report is what it's called. I'm going to run it over the last year because I have less transactions in my demo than most companies do. And it's going to give me the amount of points that each customer has accumulated that's eligible for this coupon. So I can print this report and attend to these customers if I need to. If I need to look at just the folks that are currently available. So I've gone through, I've sent all of those out. I want to clear those people from the points. I can select all and either print a pre-generated coupon that's in RB or delete these awardees so that they don't double dip. But that's it. Managing the FunPass is easy. You set the threshold. We do have to go in and make sure that our numbers are set on items for how many points people earn per item. And that's probably the most, I guess, thinky process that we have to do. But of course, there's an easy way to do it. Just like we can set our commissions in our event planner, we can also set FunPass points multipliers in our event planner. So I can even run a sale on points if I wanted to, which folks are doing. So let's say I want to just do it on chems. My chemicals are going to earn 2x points. And then I just select all and update them like I would any other process in the event planner. So I just updated my entire chemicals line to be 2x points for my FunPass. That's type number one. Type number two for our loyalty programs that are built in are reward dollars. Loyalty dollars. This is where your customers are going to get money that's in-store money, right? Store bucks. It's like in-store credit, but different. Reporting-wise, it's the same. It's a liability that gets held. But I might give 0.5% on every purchase in my store for loyalty program members. I might give 0.25%, and it's going to stack up. And RB does the math for you. So I'm going to go back into my customers again. I'm going to pull up any old customer. And when I pull up this customer, I'm going to go to the rewards tab. To activate them for reward dollars, I just check the box. That's it. It's automatic from that point. If they're on a sale, a tender method will pop up saying, hey, this customer has $1.50 in rewards dollars. Do you want to apply it to the sale? And you can. Super simple. Turned on at point of sale when the customer signs up for the rewards program. What is this good for? This is good for getting all of these empty boxes up here filled out. We know it's hard sometimes to get in touch with customers. We know that they like loyalty programs because everybody likes saving money. We know that data is a commodity. So the Fun Pass or the loyalty rewards program, well, to enroll, we need all of this information. You don't have an email, I'm sorry, you're not eligible. This gives us complete customer records. That's wonderful. And then the customers are able to spend their reward dollars. I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to give her $10. Again, that's permissioned. So, your seasonal cashier may not be able to do that. But now when she goes into a sale and she wants to buy a product, I'm going to see right on the surface that she has 10 reward dollars that can be applied to this sale. And even better, because I know, again, seasonal cashier is not necessarily going to be as focused on that as we might be. She goes to purchase something. When she goes to check out, hey, there's reward dollars available. We can apply those reward dollars to this sale. And they spend just like cash. So now, oh, that brought you down to this amount. Let's just pay this out and finalize that sale. 2 super easy ways to introduce a loyalty program in your store. If you're going to do the tags, the keychain tags, you can get those printed anywhere. It's random barcodes, right? We do offer them as well, just like the gift cards. So if you wanted it with your logo, or if you wanted it with a custom design, we also have generic designs. We can get those out to you. But 2 super simple ways. The loyalty program, once they're signed up, it's on, it's active. So great, great stuff. The last thing that I'm going to show you real quick is the messaging. We talked about this before, but I'm going to show you what I think is the best example of messaging that we have for the advanced text messaging, because I do want to honor and respect your time, and we are done shortly here. So I'm just going to very quickly pull up one of my customers, and I am going to show you that this is a back and forth time-stamped and transaction-stamped history of all of the text communication that we have had. This is available through the advanced text messaging add-on that we have. Sincerely, I believe that it's probably one of the best add-ons that we've had in a long time. So there's lots of places where you can see this messaging. You can see it directly from the scheduler. You can see it in the message log, just like how you check your emails right now. But it's also now part of the customer record, which is spectacular. So that's our CRM peek into messaging, being respectful of the time. That is all we have for now. I want to thank each and every one of you for showing up. As always, I love doing the webinars. I love seeing everybody every month. We get to talk about new stuff and old stuff that's useful for you and your business. And it's one of the highlights of my month. So thank you guys for coming. We'll see you next time.